should there be a cessation in hostilities, a ceasefire in Ukraine, that any ceasefire would have to be lasting, and to be lasting it would need security guarantees, and that's why we set up this coalition of the willing, brought this group together. And can I just begin by thanking you all for the various commitments that you've made in the intervening weeks and months, and the contribution to the plans that we put together, which these are military plans which are now ready in a form that can be used if we get to that ceasefire. Now we get to a really important moment, which is why we wanted to get the coalition of the willing together, to update, to think together, to share our views, because this meeting on Friday that President Trump is attending is hugely important. And as I've said personally to President Trump, look, for 3 and a bit years this conflict has been going on, and we haven't got anywhere near the prospect of actually a viable solution, a viable way of bringing it to a ceasefire. And now we do have that chance because of the work that the President has put in. And as a result of the announcement that the meeting was going to take place in Alaska, we've had our national security advisors in Chevening in the UK, and I'm really pleased that Vice President Vance is on the call here, because of course he was integral to the discussions that went on quite intensely last weekend in terms of the thinking, the shaping and the trying to make a success of what happens on Friday. So Vice President Vance, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for the work that you put in relation to this alongside our NSAs, because this is a critical moment. We have to combine active diplomacy on the one hand with military support to Ukraine and pressure on Russia, and so that all has to come together as ever, and that's why it's important for this group just to discuss how we bring that together. There are some key principles. Emmanuel's just touched on them. Friedrich was leading on the calls we had earlier. Firstly, and obviously, there can be no negotiations about Ukraine without Ukraine. And that's been a long-standing principle of this group. And I know Vladimir is on the call and will be absolutely clear in relation to that. And along with that, that international borders cannot be and must not be changed by force. And again, that's a long-standing principle of this group. And alongside that, that any talk about borders, diplomacy, ceasefire has to sit alongside a robust and credible security guarantee to ensure that any peace, if there is peace, is lasting peace, and that Ukraine can defend its territorial integrity as part of any deal. And that's why this group was set up. That's why it's important that we've all made the commitments that we have. And we made some real progress today, a very important call with President Trump earlier on in relation to security guarantees, as Emmanuel has just set out. And as we've said all along, we, the coalition, stepping up, showing what we will do, the plans we've put forward, credible military plans, and alongside that, the backing of the US. So we stand ready as a coalition to support the meeting on Friday and everything that I hope can flow out of it. Nothing is obviously guaranteed, and as Emmanuel has said and Friedrich has said, the President has agreed to debrief immediately afterwards so that we know what the next steps will be. But we're ready to support this, including through the plans that we've already drawn up to deploy a reassurance force once hostilities have ceased. It is important to remind colleagues that we do stand ready also to increase pressure on Russia, particularly the economy, with sanctions and wider measures as may be necessary. You can see the effect of those measures already, and we at the UK are preparing our next package of strong sanctions in that regard. So I think it's important that we all continue to work alongside President Trump, alongside President Zelensky, for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. I think it's important that this group stays in close contact we are able to pull together meetings like this at relatively short notice, and we've shown over the last 6 or 7 months that whether it's in person, whether it's virtual, or combinations of both, we can have the opportunity to share our thoughts and our thinking. So thank you very much, Emmanuel. I think it's really important that we hear from colleagues, but to really reassure colleagues that the principles, the core framework that we're working to is the framework that we've taken into the meetings and the calls we've had this afternoon, which have gone well, and we've been able to show a real unity, I think, across quite a broad coalition that we now are. Thank you, Emmanuel.